All right.
They talking about
After a
choking
long
out
time,
bitches.
we finally got this to record.
Here we go.
Talking a little fantasy football, little season 5, going to go over our keepers, who we think you should keep, who we think you should drop. We're going to do these maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. I was thinking maybe we should do like a Monday morning quarterback and then make predictions for Monday night's game. And then on Tuesday or the next week, kind of review the previous game and kind of keep a record of how we do. Just let this evolve a little bit.
Love the idea. Great idea, Brian.
There was actually, when I was surprised because there was a lot of strategy just in the 2 documents that you sent us, right? So if you already know the draft order and then you have the ability to know that the first round is your keeper, there's some strategy for people who aren't going to want to have a keeper.
Right. Absolutely.
Players who can't be kept that could fall to a team who's like 4th or 5th in the pick. So there's a lot here you could get into, and it's going to be a good one. I actually think it's going to work out pretty good for the draft strategies.
Absolutely. No, there's going to be more strategy to it this year from teams because, like you said, they know where they're going to be drafting. They're going to have an idea of who's being kept, who's not being kept. Every keeper is a first-round pick, so it definitely makes that a lot easier and clearer for team members. Now, in today's discussion, I know some people have already sent me their keepers. I'm not going to tell who they've decided to keep just yet.
Okay.
In case somebody actually does listen to this, they get some type even further advantage. I want to announce them all at the same time.
All right. So today, I guess kind of more like a predict who we think is going to pick who the best bargain at those positions is.
Yeah, exactly. And definitely keep in mind that I pretend to know a lot, but I don't know any of this stuff.
Just say it with a lot of confidence. That's all that matters, man.
So you had the sheet with the keepers from last year. Starts with Cadillac Baglini, then Philly Special. Do you want to run by team? Do you want to do it that way?
You want to do it by pick, since we know who the order that everybody's picking by?
Yeah, that's cool. We can do that. So Philly Special picks first.
Yep.
And I had him pegged, if I was going to have a keeper on his team, to go with, obviously, DeAndre Hopkins. But he's one of the teams where I think he could probably get away with not picking DeAndre Hopkins because you're going to get a guy like Saquon Barkley who can't be picked up by your dad that's going to be on the board. So he could be your first round, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So hopefully he'll watch this and listen to us and take Saquon Barkley over DeAndre Hopkins. I'm just saying it's going to be out there.
So I'd actually agree with that. So looking at his roster, I think he had a solid squad last year. I'm just looking up to see what they finished at last season. So
was my
Philly
next
Special,
question.
which is my father-in-law Joe Ciccone and Mike Ciccone, Mike Jr. They finished 8-5. They were 3rd overall in points for, and had the 11th most difficult schedule. So the higher the number, the easier the competition. So they finished 7th overall with 8-5. But I agree with this strategy. At first overall, while DeAndre Hopkins is a tier 1, well, a lot of people are putting him in the 2nd tier of wide receiver because he switched teams or is traded to the Cardinals. I would have to say I would pass on him in the 1st round right now, especially given that they have the 1-1 pick.
Yeah.
Or first pick, 1st overall. And I would agree with your logic here based on, and it'll be clear as we go along here, with the running backs that are going to remain on the board, I would go Saquon as well too. He's looking at a large workload. He's a workhorse before. He's produced. Last year was a down year, but that was really, mostly Danny Jones taking over for the first time. A lot of injuries. So, I would go Saquon 1-1.
Yeah. Denny, you on?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good assessment there. I agree with that. Although I don't think you can ever go wrong with keeping DeAndre Hopkins. I think Kyler Murray has a huge year this year. They're saying possible MVP of the league candidate, so he's going to need to air it out to someone. And Fitzgerald is old man time, so I think Hopkins just stands to just produce some huge numbers. But the Saquon approach, definitely, I agree with.
Commish, do you think overall drafts will be better this year? Just because, I mean, if you can't pick, then it auto picks the next best guy for you, right?
Yeah, right. So for our league, yeah, I think we're going to see more balanced teams. So I would like to encourage everybody to show up just that way we can just rip on it, everyone, and, keep the banter going. But yeah, that's the truth. That is a good point, is the tool. They have an algorithm that'll decide what your needs are. Now, you could end up getting 3 quarterbacks. I'm against having more than one personally. So that's the downside to the auto draft, but it'll definitely go through, run some form of analysis. I don't know the ins and outs of the algorithm, and decide what you need most. So there is a chance that we're going to see more balanced teams this year if we allow auto draft to pick for teams that don't attend.
Cool. Good.
Yeah.
Old Pyros are next with the second pick in the draft.
Yep.
Again, looking at this roster, I think this falls into that same weird category where he's got some great players. I would probably pick Michael Thomas if I was further down in the draft, but there's probably going to be a higher marquee player available at 2.
So, Dennis, I'll let you weigh in first. I kind of rambled on the last time.
Yeah, no, I think I agree, but safe choice. I keep Michael Thomas in the situation. Guy puts up huge numbers. I think you can't go wrong with him. I think he goes number 2 in a league in general. A lot of times comes off the board as one of the second taking players.
Yeah, that's a good point. I could see that in multiple leagues where people would jump up to grab him.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. And, Dennis isn't exaggerating where, so I'd like to do a lot of mock drafts. And Michael Thomas has gone as high as 2. I haven't seen him go 1, but he has gone very high. Now I'm trying to pull some projections here, but, quickly going through Richard's roster from last year, he had Matt Ryan at QB, Tevin Coleman, San Francisco. They've shown that they're really going to be a running back by committee. I don't like that. Dion Lewis is on a new team. I think he's with the Giants now. So no way I'm giving up a first round. Michael Thomas is the only candidate I see right now that I would potentially keep. But knowing, like you said, like we said, we know where we're drafting. Old Pyros here would make you won't lose the season because you drafted Michael Thomas in the first round at 2 over 2 at the second spot. But I think you're leaving potential other talent on the board that could give you slightly higher upside. The guy's going to be, like Dennis said, he's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to get a lot of work. But, having the second overall pick, I don't think I could do it. Here's why I'm just going to allow that. Just elaborate a little further. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, go.
And if I'm too long-winded, tell me to shut up. But, looking at the players, the running backs, I think that are going to be available pre-keeper. These are the guys that after all the keepers have been declared, you have Saquon Barkley.
Right.
You have either Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry.
Right. Yep. That's who I say. Clyde Edwards, right?
Yep. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, these are the tier 1 and tier 2 running backs, and potentially Joe Mixon. Sorry. Those are the guys that I think that are tier 1 and tier 2 running backs that would still be available to be drafted.
Yep.
I would rather take somebody – I see, for me, I feel like you have to get a running back early. That position is so shallow.
Yep, me too.
Yeah. That's why I would be passing on Michael Thomas at the second overall. Yep. But again, if you did it, you're not going wrong with that.
Agreed. Let's see who's up next. Wolfman's got Nards coming in.
Wolfman's got Nards, baby. Everyone's favorite team. I'm just so glad Joe's not on this call. I am not over last season at all. Christ. It was mine. I relate so much more to Shooter McGavin now. It was my year.
Don't worry, the universe punished him. He's been trapped in an apartment in New York City for the last 6 months. He has a baby coming this November, and he just bought a brand new house that's going to break this fellow's back. So if you're watching, Joe, good luck, my friend. You have lost.
See you next season.
Yeah. No repeat.
Congrats to Joe on the house, on the baby, great life developments. I just hope your fantasy football league just falls apart simply because you're so damn busy, man. That's all I'm going to say. Mike Gesicki, 2 touchdowns in the championship game. What the fuck? By the way, this is not going to be a family-friendly podcast. I encourage the profanity personally, but just a quick, so last year, my roster, I led the league in the number of transactions with 63. Whoa. 63 ad drops.
Is that the biggest over all 5 years? Has anybody beaten 63?
Not even close.
I feel like your dad gives a run for the money.
Actually, Rob has been close several times, but I have had the most ad drops in every single season. And the closest, 2016, the closest person to come to the 63 ad drops was none other than Dennis Cummings.
That's what I thought. I rebuilt that team too many times.
With trash.
Oh.
And that was back when we had, a few more players available, when we weren't running 16 teams.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It was a 12-team league. Yeah, 12-team league. The waiver wire was much deeper, but that just made it too easy, So for me, my roster, I think it's pretty obvious who I'm going to keep. It's going to be, I'll just tell everybody now, it's going to be Christian McCaffrey, barring an injury between now and Saturday. He's an absolute workhorse. He's projected to continue that. I know they have a new head coach, but I don't really foresee any change in his workload. They have a new quarterback, Bridgewater, who is not really a deep ball thrower. I remember when he stepped in for Breeze, while the Saints, I think, won 3 out of the 4 games. Bridgewater wasn't throwing deep. My point is that he's going to be, if anything, short passes to McCaffrey, and he'll get his running workload on top of that. So I think this is, for me, I'm pretty excited to be getting him at the 3rd overall pick, considering it's pretty rare to see him drop that far. His ADP has him at 1. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of value. So,
yeah, that's definitely worth it. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
That's who you would take if he was on the board.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Agreed. No other comments from me there.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick.
Yeah, the one I regret the most last year was the James Conner pick, though. I had him as a keeper as a 10th round, and he played so little for me. It's actually part of the reason why I lost in the championship. He came back, and he played 3 snaps and went to the blue tent, and that was it pretty much for me during the championship. So.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the Blazers. Oof, this is another tricky one.
Yeah.
Couple good.
Oh, she's got a, her pick there between Cook and Henry, both on her roster right there. What do you, she can't really take Godwin, but it's kind of embarrassment of riches there with those two. Can't go wrong with keeping either one of those.
I completely agree. I mean, Brian, what do you think here, man?
I had it marked down as Dalvin Cook. I think there's a little bit more upside there. And I think she gets pretty lucky. So I would say that she's going to go with Cook. He's going to bust it out, make us all look dumb all season long.
So that's Katie for you. Just so you know, that was growing up with Katie. No matter what you did, Katie just did it a little bit better, man.
Yeah, she could dunk a basketball by the time she was 10.
So, like I said earlier, your first round pick doesn't lose you your drafts, doesn't win you your league, but it could lose, it could lose you the season. So if I'm looking at Katie's finishes since 2016 to today, first season, she finished first in 2016. 2017, she was 15th. 2018, 16. And then last year, she jumped all the way up to 8th. Now, she's definitely rebounding here, turning it around. She wants to get off to a solid start. She has really good options between Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. Now, Dalvin Cook's ADP is the same as Derrick Henry's right now. And I really think that's because of his threatened holdout at the beginning of at the beginning of training camp. He did report on time, so I think we're starting to see that tick up. But for me, Derrick Henry has never seen a large workload before like he did last year. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold up with that. So I would actually go Dalvin Cook. He is injury prone, but we know if I were Katie, I would take Cook and then look maybe fifth, sixth round with a 16-team league. This is why you would do this so early. Look at maybe getting his backup running back if I went Dalvin Cook.
Sure. And what's great about this is now one of those two guys is going to come back into the draft.
Exactly.
So, you now you're at 6 and you're looking at a player who could go 1 or 2. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, it's going to be a lot of value here for her either way.
Yeah. Team Red Visor. Let's see what we got here for you. Okay, there wasn't anybody I was super excited aside from Joe Mixon here. I think that's a pretty solid draft right there. I probably would leave that. But again, if a couple of these players get back on the board and they're still there, then you're picking between premier backs.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Dennis, you can agree or disagree with me here. With Joe Mixon, he's another guy I'd be excited about. Maybe not at number 6 because it's very early in the draft. If I was picking maybe in the back end, say 11 and beyond, I'd be excited about Joe Mixon. It's a half point. The way we score with half point PPR, you're looking for some receptions. And while Joe Mixon will be their lead running back and receive a lot of touches, he's not going to get so many passes, which is where this is why it dings him in value.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, Joe Mixon, and on a similar note, and player similar caliber that I think will probably be available in that slot that will probably get more action will probably be someone like Nick Chubb. I think he's going to have a huge season this year with the new new quarterback. No, man. Who's the guy in Cleveland throwing the ball? Baker Mayfield. So I think you'll see a lot of play action with him. He'll be able to jump in. He'll have a big season. But, I guess comparatively speaking, Mixon stands to have a good season as well with their new quarterback, with Joe Burrows. So I guess, kind of a wash there then, now that I reassess a little bit further. But
actually, you bring up a good point. No, I like where you're going with this. With Joe Burrows, rookie QB, he's going to start day one. It's with Andy Dalton now the backup on Dallas. The thing though is that with Joe Mixon that hurts him though is they're going to be chasing points. Their defense is crap, so they're going to be chasing points. So that's what concerns me about Joe Mixon. If they're down, a couple scores, they're not going to be running it right up the gut. Unless they're on the goal line. So I think I would actually lean towards the Nick Chubb too.
We got First and Den coming up. And again, this is a perfect strategy player because you have to let go Patrick Mahomes, but he'll be available first round. So could he then pick him? He's not technically keeping him as a keeper.
He could if Dennis, that's a great question. So if Dennis were to return, not keep Patrick Mahomes, he's free to draft him again if he's still available.
He would be a quarterback that would probably – the only quarterback I would say should go first round if there was a first-round quarterback going.
I mean, so that's the thing about a 16-team league, though, is that's why you could see, like, Mahomes or Jackson potentially going in the first round because there's so many players coming off the board.
Yeah.
That's why I could understand that selection.
So then when you look at, like, the people ahead of you, did we skip Girly Girl?
We did not. Oh yeah, we did. We skipped Girly Girl.
Girly Girl, but they're like, I think Kristen there might be interested in somebody like Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely, yeah.
A quick look at her roster here. Skipped over it. That's my fault.
No worries. So actually, you know what? I'll pull up some stats on.
She doesn't have anybody on her roster that I indicated would be worth keeping at that position. 5th round pick. So, guys like Mahomes will be there, Chubbs will be. So she's going to have a pretty good run. I wouldn't keep anybody on this roster.
Yeah, for sure. No, there's going to be some interesting players. I think, though, with the number of running backs that are going to be going, that'll be taken by I think she's actually in the wide receiver territory or Patrick Mahomes. If she were to take it, like you said, if she were to take Patrick Mahomes at this, this would make sense. And, that's another, we're talking about strategies with keepers. The thing to think about that I try to think about is, all right, if I don't take this player at this round, will he still be there when my turn comes around? Will he go in a higher round, number one? And 2 would be that, I know I just went A and then 2, but screw it, whatever.
A2D.
With 2 is that if, we're looking at this, we know where it's all going to be in the first round. Dennis, if you were to say at the 7th pick, will Patrick Mahomes be there for you? And the answer is no. That's where you might say, all right, so then I'm potentially getting value at keeping him. So that's where I would consider that if it checks those boxes.
Well, he's got to let him go anyway, so he's going to be left with Davante Adams, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning right now. Adams is a top 10 projected player overall in the league as far as fantasy points go. So I am leaning in that direction right now. Especially where I'm sitting, my only reservation is the potential to be able to scoop up a really solid running back, which for the past couple of seasons is, since I had Christian McCaffrey 1 or 2 seasons ago, it's been it's hamstrung me, and I haven't been able to really break that cycle. That's how I'm actually been looking into all the strategies now, recommending a 0 running back league. I don't know if you guys read into any of those. I just pick none at all and take your chances. But
absolutely. Yeah, I've heard of this strategy where you pick no running backs until the 5th round, 5th, 6th round, something like that, pretty late in the draft.
Yeah. Which is what I wind up getting after everyone makes their drops at the end, and I wind up with a James Conner sometimes. But no, I think Davante Adams is really kind of where my placement is. I also have a potential, good opportunity with Amari Cooper as well. I don't know. It's a tough call, not knowing how much more is he going to see more? Is CeeDee Lamb going to take catches away from him or make him more of a valuable target? Whereas at least in Green Bay, it's Davante Adams and the rest of the scrubs. So it's kind of a tough pick there with that one.
I don't think this is a feature, but it would be neat if ESPN could cap max points. So say for more even scoring throughout each game, the most a player could obtain would be 35 or something like that. So that you would avoid getting these, one player puts up 47 points, which doesn't
Patrick Mahomes.
and then he doesn't play for 4 weeks. It might be interesting to see if they would implement that in future versions.
Yeah.
Or the Mulligan League.
Yeah, no. They actually ran this league for a little bit where you could sub players out. So if, say, Amari Cooper went out in the first half, you could sub a player in mid-game. You could make one change mid-game. It's similar to the Mulligan rule. If they went out because they pulled their hamstring, you could put somebody in and get their points for the second half, and you would get the collective points between the 2 players. But what they were having trouble with is that players would go, like Amari Cooper would go out, you'd make the sub at halftime, but then he would come back in the 3rd or 4th quarter, and you would end up losing out. So that's why they killed that rule.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Dennis, kind of before we move on here, you're talking leaning between Amari Cooper and Davante Adams. If it was – so for me, I'd probably be leading Davante Adams, again, with the same motto that, you don't win your league in the first round, but you can lose it. I think Davante Adams is your safe play here. He's going to get a lot of targets. Aaron Rodgers is going to have a chip on his shoulder. They just drafted a quarterback, I believe, in the first round.
Yes, he did.
Girlfriend.
He just lost his girlfriend,
She drove
poor
over
guy.
him.
I almost feel bad for him. But, if you're leaning towards Amari Cooper, I would actually be very concerned about the production he's going to have.
Yeah.
Because of sharing targets. Like you hit it all. CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott. He's a catch passing back. So for me, if you didn't have Davante Adams, I would actually be considering Melvin Gordon versus Amari Cooper. I think you would get a better value while he's not a tier 1 running back. He's going to have value in Denver. They paid him a pretty good chunk of change. Not what he was looking for, but, you don't pay this guy this type of money just to, split with Phillip Lindsay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually kind of what hurt me last year was getting Gordon, eating the fact that he sat on the bench as long as he did. And then I had other issues with productivity with Amari Cooper, his injury, having so many other weapons. And then Davante Adams gets injured. That hurt me as well. So I couldn't get all three of them going at one time. I think I would have had a much different season last year had that been the case. But I agree with you. Gordon is it's appealing because, he's going to be – you expect him to be back up to his regular form, the full season ready to go.
Absolutely.
Quick question. What if the NFL was like, look, we're not going to play unless everybody out there starts wearing a mask and staying the fuck out of places you don't need to go? What if they're like, if you guys do that for a couple weeks, then we'll play? I think people would get on board. I think you'd be seeing people wearing masks everywhere.
Oh, yeah, it wouldn't be you wouldn't find any form of a mask for sale anywhere. People would be coming up to be safe.
Yeah, they should use their power for good.
I actually saw I just saw an article before we signed on here that the Cowboys, some of the players are creating their own bubble amongst themselves that they're going to self-isolate and it's just those guys are staying in, not going anywhere, self-lockdown, probably taking over a floor of a hotel or something like that. And, I hate to hear being a team like that taking that sort of initiative. You want those guys to be the ones that fall flat and the wheels fall off. But
for sure, yeah.
I hope that
picking up chicken nuggets at the strip club. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
To get some nugs.
So, Brian, what did you think for first and 10? Did you think Amari Cooper, Davante Adams, Gordon? Where did you land? I didn't catch that.
So I marked Adams, but if I was just going to gamble, I probably would let Mahomes go and then try to snag him in the first. He's that good. That's a good point, is not to declare a keeper. This goes into that, will he be there when your next turn comes up? And, that's a great point, is to say, if Dennis were to say, I'm not going to keep Adams, but I'm going to go Mahomes in the first round, he runs, he throws, he really does do it all. Yeah. And for the large part, his entire offense is returning, with the exception of Damian Williams. I mean, that's a great strategy.
Yeah. I'd love to catch him further in the first round, like on a snake draft. Yeah. Grab him first. Then within 2 more 3 picks, you're getting another starting wide receiver, running back right after that.
So you might actually get that. I would say if we were doing a live draft, no. I would say somebody snags him by the time it gets back to you. But because it's going to be auto-populating who the next best available players are, many people in our league are going to take that next best player, and he might slip down. So a live draft, I would say you wouldn't get him, but with the online draft, I think you have a chance.
Yeah, it's very real. That's a great point, is that with the auto draft showing who's the next best value pick or, top player, you might actually have a shot at this later in the draft. That's a good point.
Now, Alex, does it also tell you, based on, say you've already drafted a quarterback, does it still rank, or does it only tell you who the next best player is? It may be another quarterback.
Right. It could be another quarterback. Typically the algorithm – now, I haven't done a draft on ESPN, But if you have a quarterback already, it won't recommend another QB. That's on you if you want to go with a second QB. But it's based on then I think ADP and projected scoring.
Okay.
But
it'll field
can
your team
get
first.
those details. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Next up, we have Lego My Mego.
All right, let's take a look at this squad here.
Silly.
All right, so let's see. Lego My Mego. Pulling it up here. Sorry, fellas. All right, so we have Kyler Murray, QB. Rookie last year. Just pulled in a lot of weapons in DeAndre Hopkins, a dude with a chip on his shoulder. Wants to prove that trading him was a mistake. Le'Veon Bell, first-round pick. Kind of tough to swallow based upon what we saw last year. Adam Gase's team has the fewest time on the field for any offense. That to me makes me nervous. Carlos Hyde with now the Seattle Seahawks. This makes me nervous. Emmanuel Sanders with the Saints also makes me nervous. He's going to be more of a fourth receiver, the fourth wide receiver for that offense. Darius Slayton. Now this is interesting to me. Mark Andrews as well. These are the two guys that I think on her roster from last year could potentially explode this year. But I'm going to put the caveat that it's not worth a first-round pick. So if I'm Lego My Mego, I think I'm throwing them all back into the pot and just seeing, at number 8, you're looking at a pretty good wide receiver right off the bat.
Agreed.
Yeah. It's a shame Le'Veon Bell. You would generally want to grab him first, but just in that offense, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's on the team the rest of this season. I know COVID might make it difficult, may not see as many trades occur, but I wouldn't be surprised if Le'Veon Bell is no longer a New York Jet in 2021.
Wow. All right, remind me how Saquon's thighs did last year.
You got
I feel like she was good, right?
She was good. Now, we tried this crappy –
the dark horse.
She was. We tried splitting the divisions last year. I got rid of that. The thought was that it'd be the top 4 teams from each division. That's not at all how it worked. It just took the top team, and they automatically got buys. That was not the intent at all. So we're going back to just one large division, and everybody's just going to play whoever. So so she finished 5th overall last year, had the best win-loss record. She won 11 of 13 weeks.
Yeah, I felt like it was just a run that wasn't stopping.
Yeah, she was a freight train here. She didn't make many moves, kept the team solid. She was 13 moves overall. She had a little bit of the easier schedule here at 11, but she still dominated. I mean, that's the thing. Is she on average was beating every team by about 20 points. So yeah, so they weren't very close. So it was an awesome rookie season for Saquon's thighs. Now, looking at her roster, Dennis, if you were her, do you see anybody you would want to keep right off the bat?
Only Stephon Diggs. New team there in Buffalo, right? With Josh Allen, he can throw the ball. I think you're going to get a good connection there. He's going to catch a lot of long balls for a lot of touchdowns. So if I had to pick anyone on that team, I'm leaning towards Diggs. But that could also be one where it's a toss-up, really.
Sure. I mean, he's that downfield, explosive, solid hands, speedster that Buffalo feels they were lacking. What about you, B-Man? What are you thinking?
I had marked down for some Josh Jacobs action here. I think that this far down, you're going to want a running back, and I think that's going to be your only option.
So I had Josh Jacobs as well. Yeah. Yeah, and the reason Josh Jacobs, while it's tough at 9, you're getting towards the back half of that draft of the rotation. He's not going to be there when your turn comes back around, in my opinion. But he falls into that Joe Mixon category where he's not going to get enough catches to warrant a higher draft pick.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so best of luck in year 2. Put together a pretty good squad last year.
Yeah. And I'm also completely biased. I'm keeping him in another league I'm playing, so he's an excellent keeper.
You have any insight into the next team? We got Basic Breeze.
Basic Breeze. All right, so let's do a quick stat on her. Stat teams by owner here. Basic Breeze by my better half, Courtney Russell. Last year, she finished 11th overall, 4 wins, 9 losses. She ranked 5th in points for. She was top 5 in points for. She had the 8th hardest schedule, so that just shows bad timing on key matchups. The year before that, 9th, 6th, and then 2nd in 2016. That was her best year. She hasn't qualified for the playoffs since 2017. She's looking to rebound. But I got to give her credit. She snagged Lamar Jackson in the 10th round of the draft last year. So this first overall draft pick it really hurts her because she could have had Lamar at such a value. That would have been
awesome. That's kind of where you had Mahomes last year, Denny. Remember?
Yeah, I got him in the 10th round the year prior.
Yeah,
and it was a great value.
Yeah, no, I mean, either one of those guys in that round is insane.
Yeah.
So for her, I would say, that's where I'm looking at for that would be my pick, Lamar Jackson, especially at the 10th overall pick. I don't see this guy being there. I know Austin Eckler is a potential other draft pick, but for me, new offense, new quarterback, new quarterback. I don't love it personally. New quarterback, rookie quarterback. He'll see his touches, but he's also injury prone. If I was going to go with somebody that's Lamar Jackson between his running and his arm, he's going to get you the value of a running back in the first round.
Yeah, that's exactly how I see it. So I liked Austin a little bit, but when you look at Jackson, he makes up the points. He's going to make up the points. If you get a second-tier or third-tier running back, Jackson's going to make up the points for that guy. So between those two positions, you're going to cover it. I think you got to go Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely. And, it's not a risk-free play. I mean, they were a first-round exit in the playoffs. Some people wondering if the defenses are starting to pick up the schemes and how to scheme for this guy. But I still think this guy's going to pay dividends.
Mm-hmm. It's a good player to build a team around. It's a gutsy choice, but I think if you're trying to get back on the winning streak since 2017, I think you go at Lamar Jackson and build around him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Cadillac Baglini. He's in a weird spot here. You get down to number 11. The best I could give him is Aaron Jones. I don't have much excitement about anybody else on his draft, really.
A.J. Brown.
Brown?
I think A.J. Brown's going to take a big step up this year, especially there in Tennessee. He started showing flashes last year as a rookie. He had a lot of huge plays. He's got a lot of speed. He's catches a lot of touchdowns. I think I don't know if he's worth the first-round investment. I think he could maybe catch him on the back end, coming back around, grab him in the second. But other than that, yeah, that's really the only player on that team that I would put any focus on.
What do you like, Commish?
So I'll throw out some names here, and you guys tell me what you would go with if you would. All right, so I went Aaron Jones as well.
Aaron Jones is
what's that?
By running back rankings, he's 10th or 11th.
Yep.
So, that's still that would be a pretty solid pick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, not to say it's not a good pick, but let's mix in some wide receivers here, and you see what would you rather, Aaron Jones or we're going to say DeAndre Hopkins is still available.
Probably take Hopkins, right?
Yeah, I'm taking Hopkins.
Okay. Aaron Jones or Tyreek Hill?
Probably Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Because
especially because his punt returning
points. He's a multi-tool player.
Yeah.
All right. So I have 2 more, and then Julio Jones or Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones, I think, here.
Okay. I'd go the same way.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry, I lied. I have two more now. Running backs. These are last two are running backs. Miles Sanders or Aaron Jones?
I think I go Miles Sanders only because I think Green Bay has more of a committee going there, don't they? So Sanders is supposed to be the feature lead back who's going to get all the touches. They're really banking on Corey Clement as being his backup, and he's coming off of injury. So or Boston Scott. So I think you have more of a chance to see more productivity out of Miles Sanders there.
Man, Scott's such a fan favorite, huh? Gets on the field and the whole place goes crazy.
I think it goes insane. Yeah.
Everyone loves that super slow spin move he does.
Somehow it works. All right, last running back that I think would still be out there at this pick.
Okay.
Arizona's Kenyon Drake.
He busted a couple times, right? I mean,
did bust a couple times, but overall, after he got traded to Arizona, he had very productive for the majority of the season. He had very productive weeks. Excuse me.
I think you have talked me into saying throw all these folks back and then just pick the best player that's out there.
That's kind of where I would. I was kind of leaning there too. I think Aaron Jones would potentially still be there. It's right in that gray area. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he would be there. It's right on the fringe of whether or not he'd still be there. If Joe was picking at maybe 13, 14, I'd throw Jones back in there and pick up one of these stud wide receivers.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, because also think about it, for everyone that's not keeping someone and you have all these newer wide receivers like a CD Lamb, some of these other bigger names coming out of college, you're going to want to take chances on some of those guys in the first round.
Yeah, well,
very likely.
That's where guys like you and Alex come in handy because you know all those guys, you know all those players. So for the rest of us, we're just going to pick a name we recognize or somebody we're comfortable with. But that plays to your advantage, knowing who's the next breakout might be.
So that's what drives me crazy is like knowing the Eagles, we would have had to mortgage a lot, sell a lot to trade up to get a CD Lamb, but they were comparing this kid to DeAndre Hopkins.
Wow.
He's going to be a stud. To see him on the Cowboys just makes me sick to my stomach. But the Eagles unfortunately backed themselves into a corner with their wide receiver depth being so shallow that everybody wanted, just a way too expensive of what we would have to sell to in order to move up in the draft. But to see CeeDee Lamb on the Cowboys just sucks in my opinion. But I still think they also missed on Rager personally. I think Justin Jefferson would have been better, but there's a reason I'm sitting in here talking on a Zoom call about fantasy.
I think a lot of that comes down to, like you want the big body wide receiver, tall, fast, more filled out wide receiver rather than like a Darren Sproles, who was great and did a ton with his career. But sometimes you just want a guy that will be in the back end of the back corner of the end zone, can jump above everyone,
put the hands
fight and pull down the ball. And that's what they're banking on Ortega-Whiteside becoming.
Yeah.
But, who knows? I would have taken Jefferson as well.
Yeah. So for me, it's, kind of like what we're talking about here in the first round. Your first round pick just needs to be a sure thing, right? This is not where so for me, I'm really risk averse with my first round pick, and you would think that professionally too, when you hear Rager is going to be a serviceable wide receiver, I think. But when you hear, a drop off in play because, they're putting on the quarterback, I don't know, that makes me nervous. Frankly, when you're comparing to CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, I mean, these were some talented guys. There was even a guy that went later in between that I think would have been good. It wasn't Ruggs. It's slipping my mind right now, but the guy they went with, sure, he's going to be fast, but I don't know. His hands might not be what we need or not be good enough to solve our problems.
We got lots of problems, fella.
Oh yeah, we do.
Well, let me get your opinion. Is Wentz a bust or next level?
Oh, next level, man.
Danny,
I love Wentz. I'm a Wentz guy.
You know how I feel. Next level, all the way.
All the way, man. Hey, what did Wentz accomplish last year? He had some absurd stat where last year he had the most stats or most receiving yards with no individual receiver breaking, I think 500 reception yards. I'll look it up, but it's something absurd. It's some record here that
he's got.
Right, we keep going. I'll look it up while I try and find this.
Jesus, take the wheel.
I keep saying it just comes down to the throws and the plays he makes. Like I was saying the other night, that the pass in Washington to Ward in the end zone where he throws it a blister along the sideline into a place that no one else can catch, through 3 guys' arms that couldn't even get near grabbing it. He finds him that Atlanta game when his knees are nearly down, and he stretches forward and makes a huge pass. He's just got it. He's next level.
I just thought of Happy Gilmore when he goes, yeah, some might call that luck. I would call it, well, luck, I guess.
All right, so here it is. Sorry. Carson Wentz becomes a first ever 4,000-yard passer in a season, and no wide receiver had more than 500 yards receiving.
That sounds like an Onion article.
Oh, it is.
You on the Onion.
It definitely is. Tried and true, the trusted, not biased at all.
That's awesome.
It's also the first time they ever checked something like that too. So
I'm going to need some stats on this next team. Boats and throws. I believe, well, I'll tell you right off the bat, I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott again. He's coming back to the squad for the 4th year in a row? I have managed to bring him back onto this team, and he's going to bring me to glory this year. This is it. This is our run.
Love the pick. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You're picking at the 12th spot, and you're going to get what ADP is saying, the 3rd overall pick. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, he's great. He's fun to watch. I mean, it makes Sunday football awesome. He can have these breakout days. Even when he's not performing fantastic, you're good for 10. I mean, I'll take it every week.
Yeah. So, B-Man, if you want some stats on your squad here real quick. So, in the 52 games we have played, you have won 26. You have lost 26.
Oh, I'm Andy Reid. I'm Andy Reid of the league.
You're So, last 3 seasons, 2017 through 2019, you have finished 7-6 each season. You've been hovering right around that 7th overall in points for. You've qualified for the playoffs a total of once out of 4 times. Really, because like you said, the 2 years, you've had the 1 year you had Elliott and he exploded. Now the last 2 times you've missed, really because looking at your roster, your keeper, kind of hurt you here. You had David Johnson that 1 year. He played week 1 and was done for the season. That was your first. You had the 1st overall pick and it had to go to David Johnson. So that really hurt you, obviously. And last year, I can't remember who your keeper was last year.
To Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. Yeah, no, I mean, this guy, week 1, again, didn't come back to week 10. So
Yeah, I've gotten beat a couple times. So maybe Ezekiel Elliott won't play and we'll win the division. So that could be good. Those numbers are mediocre, and I've always said that I am Mr. Average. I am average height. I literally have 2.5 kids. Like this is I am average down the middle, so that makes sense completely. And you know what? It's kind of fun. I'm good.
And I think in your position too, had you not had the choice of Elliott, you couldn't keep him, or you assume he won't be there at that level. I think your next best choice would be Adam Thielen there. Yeah, Thielen, he's a monster. He's a fantasy monster. He puts up. You can always count on him, at least a touchdown and 100 yards a game.
Yeah, he's definitely
almost always.
Absolutely. Now Dennis, if you were Brian, you said you would go Adam Thielen. Did you even consider Kenyon Drake?
I looked at it briefly, and I know we talked about him before. Again, I think it's I'm probably more partial because I had Thielen for, I think I may have had him at least one, maybe 2 seasons, and he did nothing but produce for me. And so I kind of have that blind loyalty to him.
Yeah, there's something about the guy that is just going to catch it. Like there's just something really appealing about that guy. No matter what touches the other guys get, if that ball comes his way, he's grabbing it. And it's like T.O. that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're not dink and dunk passes either. They're down the field. They're down the field passes. And with Diggs being transferred, make it like he's, traded to the Bills. I think Stephon Diggs had 96 targets last year. There's a lot of work. He's not going to get all 96 targets, Stephon Diggs' workload, but he's going to get a large portion of it because he has that connection with Kirk Cousins. So, actually, I'd probably weigh in on the same thing and lean towards Thielen as well.
Yeah, but mine was an easy no-brainer.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Ezekiel Elliott. You have to.
Before we move on, I saw on your bench you have LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah.
Just signed with the Bucks. Not even talking about keeper suggestion, but talk about a dude that fell from grace here. He was he went back to Kansas City for one last run with the coach that drafted him, and Reed, in the biggest game of his life, his chance to redeem himself, benched the dude. I'm going to look all hands on deck, everybody, anybody and everybody. And LaShawn McCoy, sorry, man, I don't have a spot for you. That sucks, man. That's got to really hurt.
That's tough.
Another hometown hero, though.
I'm actually kind of glad the Eagles didn't go there. You hate to see them just keep going back to the well based on nostalgia. And like you said, leading rusher of all time with the team, great, did great things, but I don't think that's the path. If anything, I think Devontae Freeman's still out there, right? I think that's the
LaShawn McCoy back out there with Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
2012.
Makes me think of the early 2000 Philadelphia Flyers. Come on, boys, move on from these guys.
Who's up next? Chasing Summer. We got a name change here. Senior Moments.
Chasing Summer.
Senior Moments. Feeling a little nostalgic.
So my parents will now be co-managing this team, so I probably actually should watch my language on this podcast. Susan will be all over me. So here's where Chasing Summer, or formerly known as Senior Moments, finished. The first season, 2016, finished was 10th at a 6-7 record. 2017, 11 with 3-10. Then in 2018, they managed to win the entire league with a 9-4 record. And last year returned to the 13th overall spot, but had the 4th hardest schedule. So that's one caveat we'll point out. 3-10 record. Of the 52 games we have played, Senior Moments has won 21 of those games. So 40% overall win rate right now.
And you know what? Senior gets the Heart Award because there's real effort that goes into this. He's not just, filling that roster each week. He's spending time. The guys at the office are like, Rob, you got to pay attention. Numbers are down.
Focus.
Can't be fantasy footballing all day. But I looked at his team, and he's in a tough spot. I don't have anybody marked down that I would keep.
What about you, Dennis? With us, D-Rock?
Oh, no. Denny froze. He'll be back.
At least he's smiling. So the one thing I'll give a shout out to Senior Moments here, the Heart Award, and he's the guy that's using the chat all the time. Snack talk. Now, again, where ESPN screws up is we receive no notification. So he's in there basically talking to himself. It's adorable.
Yeah, I did that the first couple seasons. Nobody replied.
Yeah. So maybe through the text chain, we'll be able to keep the smack talk going. But, this is where the COVID-19 really impacts Senior Moments because while they don't have anybody on their roster I would take with a first-round pick, if they could take any player with the 10th round cap like we normally do, I was actually leaning Marquise Brown.
Okay. That's probably smart.
I mean,
Why
the guy's
not? Because
nickname is
he's going to come
Hollywood,
right back
so-
down in the snake four spots, 6 spots, right?
What's
so
that?
he's going to get the benefit of coming back in the snake draft.
Yeah.
So then he's only got to
sure.
wait 6 more before he's back up again. That's not bad.
It's not bad at all. It's not. I mean, look, yeah, he's going to get a lot of talent here. I think players that are still going to be available, you're looking at a high-end wide receiver or maybe
quarterback somewhere.
It could be. It could, or one of the running backs we've talked about. You know, your Drake, maybe Nick Chubb's still out there. You know, you have some talent still. I mean, there's still talent left at that draft position.
Yeah, that's why I think it's just worth throwing everybody back in the pool and just picking up the best player that's available at that time.
Absolutely.
There was nobody here that stood out.
For senior moments, I completely agree. Throw them back and see what you can find. Or see what, get the best player available at that spot. You're going to be looking at a pretty good, decent player.
Forgot that he won the whole thing that year.
I know. God.
All right. We are looking at Parade Day Survivors.
All right. Stephanie Boothman. Let's see how you've done so far. You want to –
Miles Sanders a little bit earlier, and I had her marked down to keep Miles Sanders. I think that's worthwhile at 14.
At 14, I'd agree. His ADP is 13.8, so it's a slight value of 0.2. But, yeah, no, considering he's going on average before the 14th pick, I would say, yeah, this is a good value pick. You know, while the Eagles have normally done a running back by committee, they didn't sign anybody this year. And Dennis pointed out earlier that, you have Bart Scott, who, last year could have been a flash in the pan. And then you have Corey Clement, who was coming off an injury, and they're not looking at a normal training camp. I think her best pick here is Miles Sanders. And, I've even heard people say, they've ranked Miles Sanders in the 3rd tier of running backs. Okay. But I've seen a couple justify him going either tier 2 or even tier 1. He's got that type of upside.
Yeah, I think it's all upside because they're going to need somebody to run the ball on that team. And who's going to be reliable. So I would keep Miles Sanders here.
I would do the same thing.
Again, you're at the top of the snake. It's going to work out in your favor big time.
Yeah, actually, I got to tell you, with this year's draft requiring all of us to do first-round pick, I really wanted to land a later round or, the back half of the draft here. Yeah. Because it's just there's still going to be a ton of value, especially if I had somebody I wanted to keep. If I could have kept one of the top 5 players going and gotten, the 13th or later pick, I think you would have been set up real nicely. And actually, that's a topic I want to talk about with the 16th overall pick, but we'll get there. So Stephanie has had some close runs. Let's see here. She, in 2018, finished 2nd. Last year, she finished 9th. She finished 12th in 2017. And in the first year, she finished 7th. So she's been solid right in the middle of the pack throughout. She had one year where she dropped out pretty low in the 12th in 2017. But overall, the team's been a solid performer. She's just above 500, winning 27 of 52 games. So
better than my record.
Yeah.
How dare you?
But yeah, no. So this is, a good pick considering she has the 13th or 14th pick. I would go Miles Sanders. You can build a solid squad around that. Running back we talked about gets really, really thin later in the draft. Yep. You're starting off with a stud. A guy that has a good connection with his quarterback and is going to see a lot of touches.
Yeah, I'm good with it. That's where I would go.
Yeah.
Now my dad would have picked up Nelson Aguilar, but we will get to him because he does fall into that 16 spot. Yeah. Before we get there, we have Knitter Please, one of my all-time favorite names.
I got to tell you, for creativity. Yeah. It's got to go to Knitter Please. That is the best name. You got to really focus when you're saying it, especially after a couple of beers. So,
And shout out for all the craftiness and the awesome knit work and the stuff that they create. I mean, really freaking cool. They're blowing it up, and I'm really proud of them. I'm glad to know them, and I'm glad they're killing it.
So Knitter Please has finished in 2016 was 9th, 2017 16 was our Rusty Ass winner, 2018 11th, and 2019 14th. So she's had a couple tough runs here, but this is really because simply around the end of October, beginning of November, right when her busy season kicks off, she forgets to set her lineup. So this is where her team always runs into trouble. This is why I started looking at the week-by-week comparison.
Yeah.
She's a strong performer at the very beginning, but once the busy season hits with work, it's tough. And I understand careers come first, I guess. But, this is where it's tough for her. She starts off strong and then fades in the later months, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, if women just learned that they should stay in the kitchen and out of the business world, they would be fine.
Look, May with Love Knits is awesome. We understand you're super crafty, make all of us look like schlups, uncreative schlups.
Totally.
Come on, fantasy football. It's got to have some place in your life.
Yeah, move it up the scale. No knitting on Sunday mornings.
Exactly. Yeah.
Take some time off. No, but I'm really impressed with the stuff they do. And
yeah, so for anybody on Instagram, follow May with Love _knits. It's run by our very own Mallory Boothman. Congrats. We see some exciting stuff going on with her business. I hate to use the word adorable, but the thing she does knit, especially for the little ones, is awesome. There's a lot of different selections. So check it out, guys. Again, that's May with Love _knits.
I dig it. Yep. Good plug. I dig it.
All right.
And for you, I would keep.
And hold on 1 second for clarity. She does not sponsor the league. She does not want to be associated with us in any way.
Not a sponsor, but we could use some hats.
Yeah, we could use some hats. Yeah.
Looking over this roster, Mike Evans jumps out as a decent keeper, but you got David Johnson on here floating around. I don't know. It's late. I'm not sold on anybody really. Mike Evans just jumps out as a name that's familiar to me.
So I love Mike Evans this year. Really do. I wouldn't put him up there with DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams or Michael Thomas. For me, I think Mike Evans is actually like a tier 3 wide receiver. So I'm thinking maybe end of round 2, beginning of round 3 type of selection. So for her, I think Mike Evans will still be available at this pick. I would throw him back. Same with David Johnson. I don't think David Johnson's going to go until 4th round because the Texans tend to throw. They have Watson. So, yeah, I would have him later. I think I would toss them back. So if you had to decide between Evans or Johnson, who do you think you would go with? Or are you going with toss them all back?
I would pick Evans over Johnson, but I would probably toss them back and then pick the next best available player.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to put you down.
And then on the next round, because Chuck's not going to take him, swing back and pick up Evans or somebody else like that.
Right. Neither one of them play for the Eagles, so.
Yeah, we know he's not going to go there. Yeah, so we got one last one, a one and done. Got Chuck coming up. Big shout out to Chuck for helping me with the hardwood floors this week. They look fantastic. He's an excellent craftsman, and I learn a lot of cool shit, and I enjoy doing our projects together. It's really fun to build crap with your dad.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and that's awesome. It's cool to hear that you guys do that. That's so cool, man.
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat. Lucky to have a handy dad just like you. So that's one of the fun things to do, especially with home ownership. The cost sucks, but it's a lot of fun to do this type of stuff and learn something useful.
I think I told you this before, but whenever we go to Home Depot, he just like throws stuff in my shopping cart. He's like, yeah, you need one of these. You need a level. You need an angle grinder. I'm like, for what?
You'll probably never need this, but put it in.
Wait. And then he goes, I get the military discount. I'm like, yeah, you put $75 worth of stuff in my cart. You're going to save just 10% on taxes? But it's awesome.
It still hurts, man.
Yeah. It's cool. But, yeah, he killed it this week. And I know my body hurt from doing the floor, so I'm sure his body hurt.
Yo, what is it that post 30, everything just hurts? I mean,
it
just
falls apart quick.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. There is no recovery. I like his roster. I'd like to hear some of his stats. He's had a rough run, and he does care.
He does care, but I mean, look, he's had a rough run the 1 year simply because he drafted all Eagles. I mean, there wasn't a single non-Eagles player.
He totally benefits from the online draft here.
I think so too. Now,
as long as his computer stays connected, we're good.
So exactly, I think the online draft is really going to help. It's going to help anybody that really doesn't have the time to do the research, or can't watch as much football.
Mm-hmm.
Bring players to mind that they may not be familiar with. But looking at what your dad's stats have been, 2016 and 2017, he finished in 2016 he finished 5th overall, and then 2nd in 2017. He came so close. Now in 2018, he narrowly missed the rusty ass. All right, finishing 14, going 1-12 for that season. This was the year he went all Eagles. So it's kind of hard when the Eagles had a down year. You
have to run the science experiment, and we
exactly.
did.
So he ranked dead last that year in points for, and actually had the hardest schedule of all in the entire league. So it was just 2018 was a terrible year. 2015, unfortunately, his first round pick of Kamara didn't pan out. He just had a down year. Overall, he had the 7th overall hardest schedule, finished 15th. So the first 2 years he was in the top. Last 2 years been kind of in the bottom here. I think he's got a real good potential keeper in my opinion, Kamara.
Me too.
I
just wonder if he thinks he's burned.
Exactly. So the question is if he keeps him. So here's why I love it. Here's why I like Kamara. Kamara's shown he's been healthy, right? He's posting these workout videos. The team loves him. Drew Brees still has a good arm, but not the arm they want. They also have Latavius Murray as the backup running back. They didn't invest, to my knowledge, did not invest any draft picks in running backs. Latavius Murray has some tread, not much tread left on the tire. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just work Kamara into the ground. It's his last year of his contract too, I want to point out. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's in for a big workload. Now, the question is, does your dad value him? ADP has him going 5th overall, so to get him at 16 is a steal.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like he's likely to keep a guy, and he's likely to keep Kamara. I feel like he'll go by the numbers.
And I think that would be a good call. And this is why I wanted
There he
is, D-Rock.
He got glasses. He had to go get his glasses.
Hey.
Can you hear us, man?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were just going over one and done.
I don't even know who he has. No one worth keeping. They're all equal.
No. We like Alvin Kamara. He still has a pretty good running back available.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that's who we think he's going to pick. I mean, that's who we're pushing him to pick.
Yeah, I think Kamara at with an ADP of 5 of the 5th overall pick at the 16th. I think that between either that or Ezekiel Elliott is the steal of the first round for potential keepers, especially since he has the very next pick then with the snake draft.
Yeah.
So
that's
he's looking at either one of the tier 2, tier 3 running backs, which are going to provide a lot of value, or an elite wide receiver. So
you know he's going Carson Wentz, right? 16 and 17. We got Kamara and Wentz.
Oh, man.
Are there any other – that was awesome. Thanks for going through all that. Are there any other rule changes or things that we should be aware of, things that will change the gameplay? Same settings, same time frame, everything?
So everything's the same, from a scoring standpoint. The only thing I want to talk about or pitch to the league is COVID-19 impacts. Do we want to make an extra IR spot do we want to make extra bench spots? With 16 teams, the waiver wire is very shallow. What I've thought about doing, frankly, is if, say, Patrick Mahomes is diagnosed with COVID or put on the COVID exempt list Sunday morning, what we would do is whoever has Patrick Mahomes will not have to drop Patrick Mahomes or put him in the IR spot. They will receive the points for the backup quarterback that plays automatically without making a roster move.
You have to do that manually?
What's that?
You have to do that manually?
I would have to do that manually. So there's going to be a lot more labor to it this year.
It really seems
it would only be for the quarterback position. Sorry, it would only be for the quarterback position. Everything else, it's kind of fair game because there's a lot more depth, in my opinion. So quarterback would be one where I'd be willing to make a special consideration.
I agree with that. I like that idea.
Cool. As long as you don't mind doing it, that works out great.
Nah, are you kidding? I love doing this stuff. Yeah, I don't mind doing that. The only other thing I want to also talk about is, the NFL hasn't decided to do a bubble. I think this is a mistake personally, but the lack of a bubble is we potentially run the risk of what's going on with the MLB. And if that occurs and it becomes out of control, which results in the season being canceled, we need to discuss, do we want to keep it? If after a certain number of games have been played, do we declare a winner? If so, how does that winner decided? Is it by standings, most points? So there's a couple things we need to iron out. We've been on the call now, or our podcast has been on for about almost a little over an hour. We probably don't want to get into too much more detail, but one of the things we can talk about maybe in the next recording here is some potential rule changes for the league to accommodate COVID-19.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll do that next week. We'll bring up some questions. We'll ask people to submit their questions too. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was that season when the NHL didn't play and they just never declared a winner. On the Stanley Cup, it says season not completed. I would be cool if on the rusty ass and the Dutchman, it said season not completed. That would kind of be neat.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah. I mean, that's the option too. If we can only get like 3 weeks in, sure. But I would feel bad for the person that, in week 11 had been dominating all season and the season doesn't finish. So that kind of sucks for that person. So
imagine you draft the perfect team.
Yeah.
You're cruising.
You're undefeated. One of those guys the following year.
in the following year, can you change the number of keepers? So if that was the case, say they cancel the whole season, could we change it so that you have 2 keepers next year?
Sure. I would throw that out to the league if they'd be interested in that.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll think of all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, we'll put them out there. We'll put the rules out there. We'll let the league vote. We probably should do it before we draft because I don't know if I can alter the rules after we've drafted. And I know it's still early to draft. We're mid-August and the season doesn't start till September 10th. I wanted to keep the same date since I know everybody had kind of blocked their day out to be able to attend it in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it's definitely a bummer to miss the party. It's the one thing I look forward to all year long. But I think doing it over the internet is going to be fun. I think we could do Zoom and have that up and running if we want people to go and join in these types of conversations when they're not picking. So we can set it up and it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, we'll have a great time. We'll make it work.
Yep, agreed. Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to save this podcast and figure out how to upload it. I'll probably put it on my YouTube channel and then I'll send a link for everybody to take a look.
I think one thing that would be interesting also is maybe for the next one, what if everyone comes up with a hot take on the season? I think, Alex, you threw one out there already with you think Le'Veon Bell may be traded before the end of the season.
Yeah.
I've got my hot take ready, which is I think Alex Smith beats out Haskins as the quarterback in Washington. I think he has a productive season.
I like it.
All right. My hot take is Kaepernick is back.
Cap is back.
I think you're right. I think somehow he gets on the team.
I do too. I wouldn't be surprised.
That sounds good. All right. I'm going to pause the recording. We can stay on for a minute.